Okay, so then let's get started. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Committee on Ordinance for Tuesday, November 9th. It is 6:34 p.m. The members present are myself, I'm the chair, Rebecca LISI, city councilor at large. In the council chambers, we have Councilor Bacon from Ward 5 and our Ward 2 city councilor, Terry Murphy. Ward 4 City Councilor is on Zoom here with us, Libby Hernandez. And I did not see any other councilors in the chambers, and I'm not sure if anyone wants to correct me or needs to correct me there.
No, not at this time.
Okay, great. So the first item on the agenda is an order filed by Councilor Murphy and myself. I'd like to entertain a motion to take it up for discussion.
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. So this is that the city council consider adopting a wage theft ordinance for all contractors doing projects for the city or receiving special tax incentives by the city, similar to Easthampton and Springfield, with the following purposes: to prevent misclassification of employees as independent contractors, to assure that employers are paying all payroll taxes and worker compensation premiums, comply with the state laws governing the payment of prevailing wages, assure that contractors provide opportunities for Holyoke residents, veterans, and people of color and women. This was taken up twice previously. Last time we took this up, it's 3 times already. 3 times we've taken this up. And I believe last time we took it up, we also had our purchasing director, Lori Belanger, here, as well as Attorney Degnan. I believe it was Attorney Degnan's first time working with us in committee on this, and we asked Attorney Degnan to take a look at the ordinance, understand what it's doing in relation to what our procurement procedures are doing, and see if we could come back with a draft that captures some of the comments from the last meeting. So unless Councilor Murphy, you have anything else to add, I'd like to just see what kind of progress we've made on the draft ordinance at this point in time.
No, I'm all set for right now.
Thank you. Attorney Degnan then.
Yes, I have had the opportunity to review the ordinance, and I do understand that there were some concerns from people outside, specifically one with the, which applies to the TIF, and people were concerned that it was going to apply to everyone who got a TIF, and I'm going to look at it. I can explain now that people don't need to worry about a TIF if they're not doing a public project. This ordinance only applies to public contracts, and where public contracts, where TIF is being given. So if you're a private contract, this ordinance doesn't apply. So that's one concern. There were a couple of issues and clarifications. I do know that the purchasing director had some concerns, basically as to who would be the person responsible for perhaps enforcing or what exactly the role would be. I want to make clear that to some extent we're talking about a repository, and we have to be careful with respect to enforcement because I've noticed some issues that they're just going to have to be clarified. So basically my plan is to redline some changes so that this body can see the changes that I've made and recommend, and we take it up for discussion, and then maybe people who want to come and voice their concerns, they could do so, because I'm sure there's more than just the one that I've addressed.
And do you think if we were to take this up again in 2 weeks, that's enough time for you to pull the information that you're looking for together?
Yes, I think so. It's basically, there's some changes, I think. Some of them aren't very big changes at all, but I want to be clear so you can look at it cohesively and see all the issues being addressed. So yes.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions or comments from committee members?
Just real quick, Madam Chair.
Councilor Murphy.
So I did receive an email, and I'm just gonna, and it's section 3, clause 7, which is the prevailing wage weight, and I'm just gonna I won't mention the persons that's expressing the concerns, but Section 3, Clause 7 of this bill requires that any private developers taking tax reductions, TIF, CPA, et cetera, pay prevailing wages. And I'm not sure if this is correct, but would start at $65 for labor and go up from there. The effect will not push prevailing wages to be paid. Rather, it will guarantee that no developer ever takes TIFs and CPA money ever again. Those programs already exist to help developments exist which wouldn't otherwise. TIFs will meet the same fate of the incentives the fire department gave 2 years ago. No, I won't even bother reading that, but so that's a concern of some developer, and I know they are working with other developers. So that is something I would be concerned about. In fact, I want to see that we treat employees well, and I want to make sure that's done. But I do think we need to consider if that could have a negative impact on having those kind of incentives that we do provide. So that was something I just got today, so.
Thank you. I think that issue had been raised previously, and I think, again, understanding what Attorney Degnan's saying is that that's not how this ordinance reads. It's a gross misreading of the language in the ordinance to imply that anyone receiving a TIF, even if it's for private sector work, would be obligated to pay prevailing wages. This is just, the prevailing wage only applies to those projects that meet the prevailing wage thresholds, such as public works contracts above $50,000. So what our draft ordinance says is that you need to abide by the state law. And if you don't abide by the state law and you are receiving a TIF, then we have the ability to take it back. It doesn't come back automatically, but we have the ability to make that consideration. Otherwise, if there's no other comment,
So-
I say a motion to table is in order.
Counselor Lisi?
Counselor Bacon.
So through you to legal, in other ordinances, what we do when we are referencing upholding the state laws, we just simply reference it and just say shall comply with yada, 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 instead of sort of putting in our own qualifiers, if you will. So I think it would be simpler if that's the intent to do that. And the other thing that we had talked about, and I don't want to speak for the maker of the order, but Counselor Murphy had not wanted the additional aspects that have been written into the draft relative to assuring that certain numbers of opportunities in a numerical way within this ordinance, that was not what he was seeking. The concern I have about the ordinance in general is that on the one hand, we're trying to put ourselves forth as business friendly, but we're putting forth contradictory messages to different people looking to do business in the city. So I would just hope we can keep it simple, get to the main points, and not add a whole lot of other language into it. So I look forward to the language from Attorney Degnan, and I'll make the motion to table.
Second.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to table item number 1. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. It seems that in council chambers, we have someone here for item number 7. So if we could entertain a motion to suspend the
Well,
necessary rules. and
Counselor
proceed out of order to
McGivern
item
just
number
entered
7.
the chambers.
Thank you. And so did Juan Anderson Burgos, who's the vice chair of this committee.
I make a motion to entertain to pick up item number 7 out of order.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. So item number 7 is filed by Councilor McGee that Chapter 66, Secondhand Goods, Article 2, Junk and Secondhand Dealers, Section 66-39, quote, exemptions from article, end quote, be amended to add fabric after, quote, automobiles. The purpose of the current ordinance is to prevent the resale of such goods such as electronics and other collectibles that may be stolen. Secondhand fabric appears to not fit within the spirit of the ordinance, and the requirement of the ordinance would present unnecessarily burdensome restrictions on business owners receiving and selling secondhand fabric. I don't believe that Councillor McGee is here this evening. I think the order is rather self-explanatory, and we do have members of the community who I think Councillor McGee was filing this on behalf here to speak. So I believe that's Jeffrey Cattle.
Yes, thank you.
Wait,
So-
we just need a motion to allow you to speak.
Suspend rules. I'll make the motion to suspend our rules to allow the petitioner to speak.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to allow Mr. Cattle to speak. Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Jeff Cattell. I live at 332 Pleasant Street in Holyoke with my partner, Joseph Mazzola.
Welcome.
Thank you. So yeah, basically what you said, we're here to answer any questions that you have in regards to our request. Our goal is to open a fabric store within city limits that sells secondhand fabrics. So the idea there is that there's lots of people who, sewers, whatever, have lots of additional fabric in their own personal stashes. We want to help kind of recirculate that and make it so it's kind of homegrown sewers at a reasonable rate rather than paying, top prices at a normal store. The secondhand goods the secondhand goods ordinance right now is a bit prohibitive to having business operate in that way for this style of business. So our goal would be to have the exemption, which would then allow us to kind of operate as any other business would in the city.
Great, thank you. Are there questions from committee members?
Yeah, to the chair and to legal.
Councillor Anderson Burgos.
Yes, I did make a note to ask legal if fabric should be like more specific, like cloth fabric and sometimes or something similar, just because there's so many different forms of fabric. I think that should be looked at just to make sure there's no kinks.
Well, I can tell you that I've already drafted the ordinance, and I was going to submit it to City Council tomorrow, so I'll be ready for your next council meeting. I've done that with a few of the ordinances that are on this agenda tonight. In answer to your question, no, sometimes it's good to, in my opinion, it's good to leave something without description, because if you start describing, people might say, well, you didn't specify it that way, so it doesn't apply. Fabric is I think a pretty understood term. So in my view, I just inserted the word fabric. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, thank you.
You're welcome.
Committee members in the chamber, because I can't see you, feel free to speak into the microphone if you want to be recognized.
If I could, Councilor LISI, it's Joe McGivern.
Thank you. Councillor McGivern.
To our guest, so the fabric you're talking about, you would buy fabric and resell fabric. Is that correct?
So yes, there is an element of purchasing some fabric at a bulk rate, and then selling at the kind of premise is selling all fabric for $4 per yard. But a substantial amount of the fabric would be donated. So kind of a model similar to Goodwill or Salvation Army, where you receive donations and then sell it at a steep discount.
Okay, and you believe by allowing this through a secondhand license, that will make this more efficient?
Correct. By allowing an exemption, then we don't necessarily have to follow all of the secondhand license ordinance elements. One of the things, I'm happy to go into more details, but one of the biggest concerns we have is about records of purchases. So the current ordinance for secondhand goods requires both photographs of the item and the person donating said item. And then that has the ability to be uploaded to a police computer system. So our concern is that that would be de-incentivize people from wanting to donate if they had to have their photos in any sort of computer system. And that goes back to what Councillor LISI said at the beginning, that this is sort of related, the idea behind this ordinance seems to be related to stolen goods rather than donated goods.
Thank you. Not having the draft before me, I'm catching up. We're exempting this from the secondhand goods.
Right.
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Lisi.
Yeah. You're welcome. We haven't formally asked for the draft, so you're
No,
in
understood.
the same boat as the rest of us. Attorney Degnan is just getting a head start on things, it seems. Anyone else wish to be recognized on this?
Counselor Lisi, it's Linda Vacan. Just
Yes,
a
Counselor
light
Vacan.
comment that I hope will be taken the right way. I see no danger in this, but if suddenly there's a bunch of cars reported with their fabric missing, we'll have to reconsider. But I don't anticipate that will be happening. But I've been hearing about catalytic converters lately, so anything is possible these days, apparently. But thank you. I'll be supporting this.
Thank you. Councilor Hernandez, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to express, I mean, it's a great opportunity for our community, and I look forward to this, especially being able to offer this donated fabric at a discounted price in a community that, many of us are under 80% of the area median income is a wonderful incentive. And who knows, it might just, create opportunities for other people to take off with their entrepreneurship. So thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. So if there's no further questions, I think a motion to draft the order, or we could approve it and ask the attorney to forward the legal language to us for the next city council meeting, or we could ask for the language to be sent here for the next ordinance committee meeting that can be reviewed. But it seems very, very straightforward. I think it would be comprehensible without having to review the language in committee. So
I'll make a motion, we adopt the change and have the law department present in legal form for our city council meeting on the 16th.
Second.
I'll second.
motion made and seconded to approve the order and the change of language, putting it into legal form to be presented at our next city council meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. That's item number 7.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, proceeding back to regular order then, it looks like items 2, 3, and 4, possibly 5 could be taken up as a package, but Councilor Murphy, let me know if that's not a package that you want to take up in that.
They're all related to the same thing. There's different ways of doing it, but I'm fine doing it as a group.
Well, I'll make the motion to take up items 2, 3, 4, and 5 as a package.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to take up items 2 through 5 as a package. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Okay, so items 2 through 5 all relate to the OHVs, which are, I'm sorry, I don't know what the abbreviation is. Off-highway vehicles, that's what it is. Off-highway vehicles. So in item number 2, filed by Councilor Murphy, there's a request for the city to file a home rule petition with Representative Duffy and Senator Velis, allowing the Holyoke Police Department the authority to confiscate and destroy illegal dirt bikes and OHVs, similar to the petition filed for Springfield and currently pending in the state legislature. Item number 3 is an ordinance that would prohibit gas stations from allowing these OHVs and illegal dirt bikes the ability to gas up. Item number 4 is asking that an ordinance be established creating municipal fines for the illegal operation of dirt bikes and OHVs. And item number 5 is filed by McGee and Leahy to adopt an ordinance similar to Springfield regarding recreation and off-highway vehicles similar to what the city of Springfield has passed in their ordinances. Okay, under discussion, Councilor Murphy, do you want to take the lead as the
Sure.
maker here?
Sure, thank you. So I had a meeting with Springfield and Chicopee officials I guess about 2 months ago now. And we're all facing, and obviously right now it's slowing down a little bit as the weather gets colder, but we all are facing some serious issues with illegal dirt bikes and both the way they're being operated and then what else is going on with it. So I know Representative Ramos in Springfield has worked with the state legislature to file local legislation in Springfield. I know Representative Duffy was at the meeting and she agreed that if we would encourage it, that she would file it on behalf of the city. Basically, it would allow us to actually confiscate, and if it is an illegal bike being used on the road, that we would be able to confiscate it and destroy it. And I know Springfield, I think their home rule is either subject to, almost adopted, and maybe Councilor Anderson Burgos might know, but I'm just suggesting we do the exact same thing except ask that it be for Holyoke. I know all the police departments that were there thought it gave them some additional authority, and all of these things are intended to try to resolve the problem. And we've had, as you know, the person in Springfield got attacked by dirt bikers, a person in Providence, Rhode Island, a woman in Providence, Rhode Island got taken out of her car by dirt bikers. There's a serious concern. I know we've had some, for lack of a better way, dirt biker drag racing in Holyoke. And so we need to find ways, and these are 3 suggestions that came out of the meeting, so that we would have basically all of the communities kind of doing the same thing. So they're not leaving Springfield because there's more enforcement in Springfield and coming to Holyoke or coming to Chicopee. So the 3 communities are all in agreement that if we can all do similar things and be able to enforce them, and the state police have been working with all 3 communities trying to enforce this as well. So that's the basic goal. The number 3 regarding gas stations, there is a concern, and there has been a concern expressed, that make sure that we don't put gas station attendees in jeopardy. We've met with people from New Britain and Hartford who have had this. I believe Hartford has the ordinance in effect for the last 6 years, and they have had no issues with it in terms of not exactly how they get their gas when they can't go to the gas pump. They may just have to
Just put in a gas
yeah,
can.
but it makes it a little more inconvenient. And then, and the last one with the municipal fines, again, the goal was to establish the highest possible fine possible, so that when we are taking some of these bikes, they don't just end up going right back out and reestablishing it, if you will. So those are 3 things. They kind of relate to Councilor McGee and Leahy's order as well. But the goal was to try to have all 3 communities, and our expectation is if we all did that we would see West Springfield and Westfield and other communities start to adopt the same thing and try to make it a regional approach to dealing with what has become. And many of these dirt bike riders are not even from any of our communities. So that's the goal.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask a question, and then I'll see if other members have questions or comments here. The number 1 question that I have related to the home rule petition is why is it desired or necessary to both confiscate and destroy as opposed to simply confiscate?
My understanding was that in confiscating but not destroying, what has been happening is they just come back and pick their bike up and go back out and do it all over again, which is also the other aspect of the fines. And that they're just taking their illegal bike and going back out. And in some cases, as I understood it, some obviously they're not registered. They would do some other legal maneuver to get their bike back. And then they're just back on the road causing more problems. So that was the goal of the whole thing. They've tried to do it without confiscation and destroying, but then they found out people were just coming back to get them and going back out on the road again. So, I mean, that's the ultimate goal. I don't think there's a perfect answer, but we got to find some way of making this safer, both for people on the street trying to drive properly and for making sure that we have some kind of civility on the road.
Councilor Lisi?
And then I see Counselor Anderson Burgos has raised his hand, and then Counselor Bacon, are you looking to be recognized as well?
Yes, please.
Okay. So Counselor Anderson Burgos, Counselor Bacon, and then Counselor Hernandez.
Yeah, so I understand the confiscation, if it's illegal. But I don't, the destroying part is what I'm having issues with. And I'm wondering if we can somehow set something up where, I mean, these are motor, I think these are bikes that are usually used in a special terrain for like special events, motorbike racing. And I'm wondering if because destroying something I don't know. I just think I even forgot the word in Spanish, but anyways, it's just a waste. And I'm wondering if we can find a way to donate, a way to donate to special events or something like that. I mean, this is a longer discussion, but I'm sure if we did a little bit of research and it would be repurposed and used for special events. That's it.
You're all set? Yep. Counselor Bacon.
So it's kind of funny because we're all on the same point here. So when I had read confiscate and destroy, I was thinking, couldn't we confiscate it and put it out like surplus property like we do with cars, vehicles, and this and that? But you'd have to make it so that if the people were detained and their thing was confiscated, that they wouldn't be eligible
To get it back.
to buy it back. I mean, right now, they can just go get it back.
Yep.
But I think we could make it so that they couldn't buy it back. And yes, could a friend buy it back for them? But, I mean, we could put it out up north in Vermont and New Hampshire to sell them instead of here. Too, I was thinking, just rather than, I guess, along the same lines.
Yeah.
Recycle in a different location. I don't know. And then on the other point, I understand what the other communities are doing in terms of restricting, the gas into the bike. But, I mean, I don't know all the legal rules about gas cans and stuff, but I think people can pump gas into a gas can. So, legally. But it would make it less convenient.
Right.
I mean, really what the bike activity is gang activity. Instead of using guns and cars, they're using bikes and
Yep.
bats. But I mean, it really is gang activity, right?
To a great extent, I agree.
Yeah. It's tough to know what to do, but
If I could just, the one thing I will say in terms of, the home rule petition that is to try to have all of the home rule petitions be identical. And that's why what I filed is identical to what Springfield is. And that's where the legislature looks like they were moving along with that. So if they did it for Springfield, they would more than likely do it for Holyoke. And that was the goal, to try to move the process along.
and so if you have the authority, it doesn't mean that you shall, it just means that you
That
can.
you can, yeah.
And if they think their little pet bike is gonna get crushed, maybe it is a deterrent, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I see your point on that.
I think the other aspect, and I know we got two city solicitors here, but the other point was the confiscate and destroy somehow took it out of potentially returning to the owner.
Right,
And I don't know
Okay.
if we were doing it another way. I'm not quite sure what the legal aspect of that was.
all right. I'll defer to legal.
Okay.
I see Counselor Hernandez, and then we'll suspend the rules to allow Attorney Bissonnette to speak.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I also had thoughts on the destroying part, hoping that, I know that what Councilor Murphy, Acting Mayor Murphy is referring to is to try to keep it consistent with other towns, so we can move forward, smoother with legislator. But I think that the destroying part is I don't think that I will be voting if it's worded that way, because we also have to take in consideration, and not all of the people that ride their dirt bikes are associated with gang activity or crimes. There is people that love it as a sport, and they just don't have the terrain here in our city to participate like people that live in other areas, that they can freely just go into mountains and there's no problems with them utilizing this sort of equipment. So I mean, I don't want to blanket it that all of the dirt bikers in our town are people associated with negativity and crime and gang activity. There is certainly, and I see it here in the lower wards, in my ward, that there is a lot of instances when there's a lot of noise pollution, or they're, doing a wheelie in the middle of the traffic when we're trying to get from one place to the other, and that becomes very dangerous for motorists as well as pedestrians. So I am, very vigilant on that and want to support this, but I'm not on board with the destroying part. I want to see something else being repurposed, or some other method that we can modify to our town of Holyoke. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to suspend the necessary rules and allow Attorney Bissonnette to speak.
So moved.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Attorney Bissonnette.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. Just wanted to let you know that the Springfield bill is moving forward. It's in the Committee on Judiciary right now. Has been for 3 months. It has changed a bit since the original home rule petition. Legislature has added some, I'll call them due process provisions for forfeiture, which allows the police to hold a forfeited bike for 90 days, subject to a hearing if it's claimed, also to confirm whether or not it's stolen. The other piece, which I think speaks to a lot of concerns I'm hearing tonight, is that the bike would then be offered to any law enforcement departments that would like to have it as part of their arsenal to utilize chasing dirt bikes, which I thought was an interesting way to go about acquiring new equipment. It also can be, as many police departments do now, be auctioned off like they do with bicycles and other recreational vehicles. So could be a source of revenue as well. Certainly, someone could reacquire it one way or the other by paying for it twice. But it seems to me that this is the proper way to go, provide some due process protections, gives options other than destruction of the vehicle to the law enforcement agency in the community. And destruction would then be sort of a last result if there is no municipal use for it, there is no purchaser at auction, and no other purpose can be found for it, then likely destruction would be the same as it is now with the bicycles and other property that no longer is claimed. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. It seems then that, since the state legislature has the ability to amend our home rule petition, it may make sense to some extent to amend the home rule petition to include the widest array of possibilities, such as to, allow the police department the authority to confiscate and or sell, auction, repurpose, or destroy. I mean, I think to amend it in that fashion so that we make it clear that there's a range of options available, and that we would allow our law enforcement agency to figure out which path makes the most sense for them, given the resources and staff that they have available.
Counselor Lisi, Linda Bacon here.
Counselor Bacon and then Counselor Hernandez.
So through the chair to the maker. So it seems that our state delegation is aware that we are trying to coordinate regionally on this. So if we put forth these amendments, or we put forth the statement that says we are open to accepting the amendments through the process with the one that's ahead of us in the queue, would it be possible for us to put language in like that will just keep it alive as it moves forth?
Yeah, I would be fine with that. I mean, knowing what's going on with the Springfield situation and the due process, and that was part of the concerns that when we first discussed this. So, I just think we need to try to make sure that whatever is adopted for Springfield becomes the process in Holyoke.
Right.
And that it be pretty important that somebody who has dangerously used dirt bikes somehow not be granted the ability to get that dirt bike back and do the same thing. Maybe like somebody using an illegal gun, and we say, okay, but you can get it back with due process. And, so that, but that's exactly what I've seen happen. I mean, I've seen it at CVS on Beach Street, literally going in between car after car after car and doing wheelies and other things, and also looking like they're threatening the drivers as they go by. So, I mean, as long as we are trying to tie into Springfield, and we can add the due process clause that Senator Bissonette, Senator Bissonette, I didn't realize you got a promotion. You're welcome. But
Don't
I'm not.
apologize to me. John Velis is the one that.
Well, don't tell him I said that then. So I have no problem with that. I just wanted us to be as similar to Springfield, and I know Chicopee is trying to do the exact same thing. So I think if we all got on the same page and the legislature looked at it and tried to come up with the most fair process, but also the one that makes sure that they're not going back to being used illegally. But I'm fine if we do that.
Thank you. So I have Counselor Hernandez, and I heard Counselor McGivern cough. Is that also a request to be recognized?
No hand. No
Just a
hand.
No
cough.
hand, okay. So just Counselor Hernandez then.
Turn the mic on.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to add that I would like to see, these dirt bikes, at least, they're probably like a few $1,000s. They're expensive. They cost anywhere from a few $1,000s and up. I have researched them, and just not destroying them and auctioning them off, or having already a method in place. I would like to see that there's a method in place of what we can do as a city with whatever revenue we obtain from them. That would be great. We need programs in our city for our youth. We can bring back like a whole bunch of sports and opportunities for our youth to engage in work and training, and we can use this revenue arising from the auction or the resale of these illegal bikes instead of destroying them. I would like to see something like that, and not necessarily, that one agency has the say of what happens to it. We should have already something in place that we're saying, okay, this is what we're going to do with this money, and it's going to go towards these type of programs for our youth, or et cetera. So that's what I would like to see. And if that can be possible, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Bissonnette, is your hand up to be recognized?
It is, Madam Chairman. One of the questions is what happens to home rule petitions when they get to the Great and General Court? We can add a stipulation at the end of any home rule petition that recognizes the legislature's authority and power to make non-substantive procedural changes to the language in the home rule petition, and that would allow it to go through. I'm also going to suggest that we borrow rather broadly from what the legislature has already done in House Bill 1842, which is the current Springfield one, and see if that is sufficient to pass muster, so that we can kind of join these two together at the hip, hopefully, and get them both passed together this coming fall.
Great. And Attorney Bissonnette, are you in a position to draft something that could be put before the full city council at the next city council meeting?
For Tuesday, yes.
Which means it would have to be submitted to the clerk's office by Friday for it to land on our
Friday,
agenda. And that's still a reasonable timeline for you?
Well, I have the language from Springfield, and we're going to modify it and edit it to fit the needs of our community. And so I would expect to have that Friday morning, I would imagine.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
I was going to
that-
say Thursday, but Friday morning, I think.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion that we adopt the home rule petition with the concept that Solicitor Bissonnette will put the adjustments based on the Springfield home rule petition and what the state legislature has looked at thus far, and have that before the city council on the 16th.
Second.
Under discussion, I would like to offer entertain a motion for an amendment to include something to the effect of like the authority to, or something that says, the authority to do all these things, but not limited to do the confiscate, auction, resale, destroy. I think indicating that we are open to a variety of options rather than just the confiscate and destroy is worthwhile.
Second.
So the motion to amend the home rule petition has been made and seconded. All in favor
So
of
I
the
have a
amendment?
question for legal.
Under discussion? Yep. Councilor Bacon.
So through the chair to Attorney Bissonnette, if I understood you correctly, it sounds like the committee has already amended the home rule petition to put in the due process and the other options. Did I understand that correctly?
The current language of the bill includes those options, as well as something most of us would have missed, which is some of these vehicles, as Councilor Hernandez pointed out, are pretty pricey. And some of them carry loans with them, so there's a security interest in the vehicle held by some finance institutions, and we can't necessarily foreclose their interests here, their economic interests. So that's a provision that's in the latest draft. And since there has been no vote out of committee yet, this is the work of House Counsel's office. I'm fairly certain. So thanks to them, and certainly not afraid to borrow.
So if we pass this amendment, it won't contradict what's already in committee. It will be compatible.
Yes, Councilor Bacon, it will be. They've added provisions with
Okay.
an array of options, and I think this would certainly be compatible with that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to be sure we're not
Yeah.
creating a contradiction.
Right, so at the end of the day, then, if we adopt this and say something that, or say, that it reflects the most updated version that's being considered by the legislature, then that would have the requested amendments that the committee members here are requesting this evening. So I just want to make sure that what gets put before us for next Tuesday actually looks like the discussion that we're having now.
Understood.
So, yeah, so then let's.
And certainly if there's any sorry.
No, go ahead. If you wanted to say more.
If
about
there's
it,
any,
just go ahead.
I just wanted to note that we'll file on Friday. If any members have changes that they want to suggest, we can certainly work on an amendment to what will be before the council that evening. I don't think that would be a prohibitive problem, but I think we can draft this tight enough to what's been discussed tonight to satisfy all of the concerns we heard. So we'll get to work on that tomorrow.
Great. And then Councilor Anderson Burgos wants to be recognized.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the last resort would be to destroy it. And that there should be some type of measure before they take that step. That's the point I want to make. I want to make sure that destroying the bike is the last resort, and that before they do that, they have to have something needs to be set in place before they do that. That would be what I believe what this body desires.
So then it may be worthwhile to amend the order more simply. So it says, city file home rule petition with Duffy and Velis, allowing the Holyoke Police Department the authority to confiscate. How about if we just say the authority to manage illegal dirt bikes and OHV, similar to the petition filed for Springfield and is currently pending in the state legislature. That way we get the amendments that are being considered in committee. So we just say the authority to manage as opposed to confiscate and destroy. And then the draft home rule petition will have the various due process and options for management that we've discussed here.
But they have to be able to confiscate before they can manage.
All right.
Okay, so confiscate and manage as opposed to just manage. Is there a second to that amendment?
1 second.
The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor of adopting item number 2 to be drafted into legal form and put before the full city council as amended? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So I'm going to call that a 5-0 vote. On item number 3, are we in a position to move forward on these other 2 items without the home rule petition in place, or do we need to wait for the authority to come?
I believe they would be ordinances that would not require a home rule petition.
Okay. And I think in these cases, we may want to see a legal form in committee again before we are moving them forward to the full city council, because these are things that we would be able to tinker with a bit more.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I just want to emphasize on 4 that we want to make the fines as large as they can be. We want to discourage you coming to Holyoke in an illegal dirt bike, and if we catch you, you're going to pay.
You play, you pay.
Yep. So if we, I know Attorney Bissonette wants to be recognized, Madam Chair.
I can't find who wants to be recognized. I'm sorry.
Attorney Bissonette.
Oh, it is Attorney Bissonette. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
Just to note that the latest draft will include fines, the authority for Holyoke to issue fines. First offense would be 250 to not less than 250, not more than 500, and 2,500 for any second or subsequent violations. And that can either be part of this home rule petition, which will be included in the draft, or it can be an ordinance, which would make it easier for the council to raise or lower the amounts.
Okay, thank you. And I
Thank you.
like those dollar amounts.
Good. Anyone else wish to be recognized on item number 3 and items number 3 or 4? Councillor Leahy has joined us and wants to be recognized. Councillor Leahy.
Yeah, hi, good evening, thank you. Can I just, through you, Madam Chair, through Attorney Bissonnette, now hypothetically, so say if we catch a person or we catch a couple of people, could the fines be directly related to the registry or the licensing? For instance,
Yes.
oh, it can be?
Oh, yes. Yeah, these are going to
okay.
be
All right, so say
violations. Yeah, these will be street violations as well.
Okay.
In addition to the forfeiture of the recreation or OHV, there can also be fines, civil penalties, as well as reports to the registry for pulling other registrations, other licenses. So there's going to be a full panoply available for law enforcement to go after the violators.
Okay.
Same as they would have with other folks using the streets and causing violations.
Okay, no, that's good to know because, I've seen it in Holyoke, but I've also been in downtown Springfield where people are the motorcycles and also the bicycles, and they're popping the wheelies down. I mean, it's a very scary thing. So I'm glad that you guys are doing a great job on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be recognized?
Thank you.
Councillor Lisi, Linda Bacon.
Councillor Bacon.
So on number 3, through you to the maker, on the prohibition of selling gas, was it pumping the gas into the bike? Because the bike's at the station, it
Yes.
shouldn't even be on the street?
Yes,
Okay.
and they're riding the illegal bike to the station.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, that seems
Yeah.
pretty straightforward. Thank you.
So, and I'll actually just add a point here. I think Councillor Bacon, you raised some good sort of nuance here. So really, it should be, should the responsibility be on the gas stations to prohibit, should gas stations be prohibited from selling gas to illegal dirt bikes, or should people that are gassing up, so filling illegal dirt bikes at gas stations, actually have or be responsible for the violation?
Right.
And I think what we would like to see, and it may require a larger change to the draft version that's out there already, but the responsibility, the illegal act should be the responsibility of the person who's gassing up at the gas station and not the gas station who's selling the gasoline.
Right. It would be the illegal dirt biker who is pumping the gas should be the one
Right.
that's,
Yeah, if I
Right?
could,
Councilor Murphy.
and I think if we were to check with Springfield, because I know they filed it, and I know we ought to also check with Hartford and New Britain, because they've been having it, or New Haven, I think, and they've been having it. As I understand it, since most of these places you go, someone inside has to turn
let
on
it
the gas.
go.
And that is part of the process. And if they don't, what has happened is these dirt bikers just take off, go trying to find someone that will. So it has really created a situation where you're trying to make it far more inconvenient for them to do it in your city. And that's worked in those two communities.
Okay.
And there haven't been any fines for the most part, and everybody's been told if you do it if someone's threatening you, you don't mess around.
well, yeah.
But they have had, like I said, I think one of them is 6 years, and they have had absolutely no complaints from gas stations that they have had problems. And once they say, and they've signs, I'm assuming they're putting signs up, you're not getting the gas in your illegal dirt bike. People have gone into communities that are allowing it.
So can I just ask?
Sure.
through the chair to the maker of the ordinance.
Yes,
This is
of course.
very weird. I wish we were all in the room together, but have they had a significant decrease in the off-road bike issue?
Based on their comments, yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, they may be, I haven't got a statistic. Their
Yeah, yeah. No, I
comments
was
to
just
the people in
wondering,
Springfield have been, yes, that this has reduced the number of incidents in their city.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I wish we could reduce the incidents in every city, but right now we got to take care of Holyoke, and that's my goal. And Holyoke, Springfield, and Chicopee working together, I think,
that's a good
could really make it more inconvenient for someone to have a dirt bike here.
We could make it both ways. Thank you.
So we do want to see a draft of this before we move this forward, and I think the same is for 4. Item number 5 is similar, but I just want to take a look at it again. This one is regarding, I'm not sure what this ordinance does in Springfield. Under suspension of the rules, Attorney Bissonnette, can you just let us know what this chapter 385 recreation and off-highway vehicles for the city of Springfield says? Is it a replication of the
Yes.
gas stations, or is it something else?
It's the same language that they originally used to send down for their home rule petition that has subsequently been changed and modified and upgraded. I would suspect that Springfield, once they get back the final language on the home rule petition, will just incorporate that language into this ordinance. And I would suspect I would be recommending the same come December or January if we get a favorable vote from the legislature on the home rule. We'll be looking for an ordinance that encompasses all of this as well as the fines.
Okay, thanks so much for that. So it seems that we then want to table items 3 through 5 and wait for legal form so that we could review it.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we table 3, 4, and 5 and ask the law department to present to the ordinance committee at our next meeting the legal draft of the ordinance.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Okay, moving on in the agenda, we're up to 6. Motion to take up item number 6.
Make a motion, I've taken up 6.
Second.
Is there a second? Motion is made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. So this is filed by Councilors McGee and Murphy. Ordered that the ordinance committee review and look to change the residency requirement for the DPW director. Councilor Murphy, as the maker who's here, I look to you for the discussion.
Okay. Clearly, we are looking for a new superintendent of the DPW. We have advertised, and there have been serious concerns about getting enough qualified candidates from Holyoke. And we don't know if we're going to get any candidates from Holyoke. So without a change in this ordinance, we would be in a situation where technically we would be hiring somebody as acting and not having them reside in Holyoke. So the goal is to find the best person to be the superintendent, both in terms of qualifications, and we're looking at engineering, but we're also looking at leadership and management as essential skills that have to be there. And we just think the residency requirement potentially could end up putting us in a situation where we're not getting the candidates that we need to do the job to the best of the ability. So I know we've been in this situation before, and we are advertising right now, and I know so far we have had a Holyoke resident that has applied. We've had several other residents outside of residents that have applied. I have not had a chance to really review the resumes, but every professional that we've spoken with has indicated that we should consider expanding our market outside of the city.
Right. Anyone else under discussion? Seeing or not hearing anyone, I should say, I'll just note, I think that, you know, there was a moment where we were creating a lot of residency requirements for a number of department head positions, as well as in the fire department. And I think overall they have really shown to be quite restrictive for the city's ability, or towards the city's ability to attract and retain talent. To the points that Councilor Murphy made, we do need to broaden and expand our talent pool to make sure we're attracting qualified candidates to these positions. So I totally support removing the residency requirement for the DPW director. But given that we have now done this 3 times, I wonder if it would be easier to just make a comprehensive move in some way to remove the residency requirements from all city positions or department head positions at least. I think we would need to have some work that would have to go into that. And I'm not saying that we should amend this order to make that happen, but I think I might file an order to explore that. It's just getting to be the end of the year here, and there's not going to be a lot of time to make progress. But I do think that that's something that we should look at to see how many more residency requirements do we have, how many more are for department heads alone, how many more are for other department workers in general.
Yeah.
I think, Councilor Murphy, I heard you say that make some comments and you might want to respond.
Yeah, just, I'm not opposed to considering other positions, but I think it's crucial that we do this one as it is now, since we are in the application process. And obviously the new mayor is going to be in a position to hire somebody, hopefully within the next month or so, and that we want the largest applicant pool that we can get. And so I would hope that we move this so that we have it before us at the November 16th meeting, so that when they're actually there, they know, in fact, that legally you don't have to be a Holyoke resident. Doesn't mean we don't want Holyoke residents, but you don't have to be to apply and potentially get the job.
So, Linda?
Councilor Bacon.
So I have mixed mind of this, you know, because these are the 2 arguments that go on in my head. If you have no skin in the game, are you as invested in what will be going on? On the other hand, I can argue both sides of this one. We have people meeting the letter of the law, but physically they're not here anyway. You know, we know how that can be accomplished. And then I think the reality of the Department of Public Works is that for most of the time I've been involved, we had a non-resident running the department. I think Mr. McManus was actually the exception in that he did live in Holyoke, right?
Yep.
So as a practical matter, the superintendent hasn't lived in Holyoke for the majority of the time in the last, 25 years?
Oh, 30,
or so?
30-something years?
Yeah. So I guess I don't see strong grounds to oppose it. You know, I guess I just sort of wish it was different, but it is what it is. And I do think we should try to get the best people for the jobs.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with, I mean, my wish would be the same thing, but I think right now it is crucial that we get the best qualified candidate to come in, and
I can't argue.
and there are some issues that need to be addressed, and so I think if we can adopt this ordinance, we are going to allow the pool of applicants. And I want to emphasize, when we put out the advertisement, I eliminated the Holyoke residents just to get as many applicants as possible, but obviously we need to change the ordinance in order to hire them, so.
Well, other than acting, right?
Yeah, other than acting.
Yeah, forever.
So I'll make a motion that we have the law department draw this into legal form for the November 16th meeting, and that we adopt it.
Is there a second?
Quick question, if I could, Counselor Lisi.
Counselor McGivern.
The superintendent of DPW, is that not in the charter?
It would be a question that either the maker or perhaps the attorney could answer.
Was that in the listed ones with the
I
city solicitor?
I will
and-
ask the law department, but I know the law department gave me the ordinance as what I needed to change, so I'm assuming it's part of the ordinance.
Which is the attorney that worked on finding the section of the ordinance that we need to amend?
I believe all three of them had some discussion with it. They're a very good tri-team there.
So why don't we suspend the necessary rules and allow legal generally to speak?
Okay. When I first looked at this, I was of the opinion that we would do what we did with the city solicitor position, because we made the change for the residency requirement. But I think you're talking about an ordinance change. And quite frankly, I was looking at the charter. So, I don't know if Mike has anything to add, but that was my first thought when I saw this.
Oh, so we'd have to send it.
The issue is that an ordinance cannot supersede the charter.
Right.
Not all department heads are in the charter, and I'm trying to find it myself. But I thought the superintendent, and it's called something different, is in the charter. Therefore, we can't do it by ordinance. I hope, I could be wrong.
No, you might be right. I mean, it does, and let me say, it does say that the ordinance committee reviewed to look to change, so maybe knowing it was, but then it would have gone to charter and rules, so, I mean,
Well, we can send it to charter and rules if that's where it needs to be.
Yeah.
So it's in the charter?
Well, can we move forward on this and not act on it next Tuesday if we find that it's a charter change as opposed to an ordinance change? That way we're moving forward. We have the material that we need in case we are, positioned to take action. But if it is not appropriately before us, then we wouldn't take action.
could I ask?
Councilor Murphy and then Attorney Degnan.
Could I ask Chairman Vacan if in fact it was a charter change and we found that out, if you would be opposed to just having it come from this committee, researching that and having the charter change amendment come before us? I know it would not go to the Charter and Rules Committee, but timing is kind of essential here, if in fact it is a charter change.
I think if it's a charter change, it'll have to go to the committee. It doesn't matter where the work occurs for the committee to consider it, but I think the committee would have to recommend it back.
Let me throw one more. Would it be possible, and I know Councilor McGivern has the Finance Committee meeting on Monday, but if in fact our attorneys let us know that it is and I see Attorney Degnan's hand going up there, so she's probably got an answer already. But if that were the case, would it be possible, I know you come to all the meetings anyway, would it be possible to have a Charter and Rules Committee meeting just to take that up
It might
prior,
be.
so that we might be able to get it done on the 16th?
It might be possible.
Okay, thank you.
Attorney Degnan and then Attorney Bissonnette.
Yes, what I was looking at when I first saw this item was section 45 of our charter, which involves the eligibility to hold office. And it says, no person shall be eligible to any of the officers of the city government except superintendent of schools. And then, of course, we changed it also to accept the city solicitor, unless he's a citizen and has been a resident of the city for at least 2 years. So I was looking at no person. Now, I know that there is an ordinance too, which we probably would also want to change. And it talks about the superintendent, the DPW superintendent, and all that talks about, quite frankly, is residency. that this general superintendent of public works shall be a resident of the city within 6 months of date of employment. So I understand, you want to, and I understand why, Mayor Murphy, that you want to change this right away because we're looking for someone. But I've been tripping over section 45 of the charter. That's why I said I thought we would have to do what we did before. In actuality, we probably have to do both. If we're going to make a charter change, we obviously want to make a corresponding ordinance change too.
Right,
Right, so there's nothing to stop this committee from,
to do the ordinance.
right, I mean, but the charter change has to happen in order for the ordinance to be able to be in effect, because the charter
Yeah.
overrules the ordinance. So, I just need 1 out of 2 to be able to come to the meeting, so I'm not gonna speak for them without talking.
Or I'll be here as filling in if need be.
Right, that's why I say it's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
So,
Okay, so then Attorney Bissonnette wants to be recognized, and then we will go back to the motion that's on the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just to note that since the superintendent of public works is an officer named specifically in the original charter, even though it was changed in 48, it used to be the inspector of public buildings. Now it's the superintendent of public works. As an original named officer, the residency requirement that Attorney Degnan pointed out, as well as the subsequent requirement in 46, both apply to the superintendent of public works. Both would have to be amended as we are in the process of doing with the solicitor to exempt that position along with solicitor, along with superintendent of schools from the residency requirement. You, of course, can go forward and recommend that the ordinance be changed, and that can be before you on Tuesday, as well as a recommendation that a home rule amendment for the city charter be prepared and filed with the legislature.
So what I would ask is that a motion be made to send this order to Charter and Rules so that it can be before us without having to go to council first, which I believe is legal under our rules.
So we could send a copy, I would say, let's send a copy there so that it's in both committees appropriately.
because if I'm hearing correctly, we could still move the ordinance before the council on Tuesday and request that this also, a copy of this go to the Charter Rules Committee to discuss the charter change.
Well, I believe it's legal for this committee to send the order over to Charter and Rules because it's been found that it has to be addressed in Charter and Rules as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think it has to go back to the council as an order to then be sent to Charter and Rules is the point I'm making, if you want to try to have a meeting Monday.
No, I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah.
But the ordinance part, we could have the ordinance ready.
Right. it's-
For Tuesday.
Because it's an also.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the motion I've made.
So we're moving forward on the ordinance here in this committee with your motion, and Linda's motion is separate to send a copy to Charter and Rules. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well,
think.
so the only reason I'm,
Copy.
if you send a copy, that's only for tracking.
Okay.
The order has to be sent to us to act on.
Okay. Okay.
So
So
then
it's-
let's
Well, go ahead.
let's adopt the order here and draft into legal form, and then send the
So that's the order before us with the second right now, right?
Yep.
The motion.
right.
yeah.
So the motion before us is to adopt the ordinance and draft into legal form to be presented to the full city council at the next meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Any
then I'll-
opposed? Was that a no? I'm sorry.
No, I was
Counselor
just
Bacon?
gonna say, and then I'll make the motion to send the order
Okay.
over to Charter and Rules because the charter is
Second.
the dominant document.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to now forward this order over to Charter and Rules. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Okay, so moving on, we did number 7. We are up to item number 8, filed by Council Hernandez. Is there a motion to take up item number 8 off the table?
So moved.
Motion has been
I'll make
made
the
and
motion.
seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. This is filed by Council Hernandez. It was tabled back in September. That the ordinances be updated to reflect that Columbus Day will now be referred to as Indigenous Peoples' Day. I apologize, but I was not present for the last conversation. So Councilor Hernandez, as the maker of the order, do you want to give us the update here?
Sure. On the last meeting, we had Attorney Deignan share with us, and obtain information from what I'm trying to do here, which is replace Columbus Day in our ordinance, so it could be reflected that our city employees are paid under Indigenous Peoples' Day, and Attorney Deignan was going to look up and research on this information as, just most recently, the mayor of Boston also replaced Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples' Day, and our president of the United States has also moved in this direction. So, it is a matter of time that this day is going to be a federal holiday, and I hope that we can take a lead at a local level, that we can be the leaders and moving forward with this. But I make a motion to suspend the rules and allow Attorney Deignan to update us with the information that she will bring forward.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to suspend the necessary rules and allow legal to speak. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Attorney Deignan.
Yes, thank you. What I recall from the last time this was brought up, there was a concern about the collective bargaining agreements, meaning that, do we have to make this change in all the collective bargaining agreements? And in my opinion, no, we would not have to make changes in the collective bargaining agreements, because that's something that can simply be negotiated between the parties. So there's no prohibition against doing this. We don't have to, we don't have to change all the collective bargaining agreements to make this, and there's a few that the city has, but it's just my view, if it's gonna be an issue, the city and whatever union there is can simply bargain it out. So in my opinion, I think the ordinances can be taken up tonight to discuss.
Councilor Hernandez, do you have any questions for Attorney Deignan before we go to the rest of the committee?
I don't think so. It almost seems like what I hear that you're saying, Attorney Deignan, is that it shouldn't be complicated, and it's not something that's going to alter in any way the way that our city employees get paid and their benefits.
That would be correct. That's my recollection of the issue too, was the collective bargaining agreements. So if I'm missing something, please let me know. But I wrote it down, and, I looked at it and thought about it, and really, we have a lot of collective bargaining agreements, but I don't think it prohibits this ordinance from going through. If the parties at the negotiating table have an issue with it, they can deal with it. So yes, you've understood my opinion correctly.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The one point that I might raise is while we're in this transition period where some contracts would have Columbus Day written into it, is there a way of writing into the ordinance, and it could be amended later to remove it altogether, but something that says like formally recognized as Columbus Day, so that they would have that pay on that day if they had Columbus Day in their agreement, as opposed to not getting paid altogether because it's not recognized?
That's a point well taken. Yes, I don't see a reason why we can't include language that says, FKA, formerly known as. So there isn't any issue, when people are looking and say, hey, we have this change and,
Right.
the contract doesn't say that. So, yeah, I don't see a problem with doing that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other members of the committee or counselors that are present want to be recognized on this?
If I could,
Seeing Counselor McGivern.
Christopher Columbus Day holiday is a federal holiday recognized by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, correct? So how does a city ordinance supersede the state and federal government? This is a
It's
question
my-
to Attorney Diggin.
Yes, it's my understanding, and I'm sorry I don't have the cities or towns, but I don't think we're the first one to bring this up.
I don't care. I want to know, why we're doing it in, when the federal government and state government is saying the opposite.
Quite frankly, Counselor, I'm not sure that the federal government is saying the opposite, because I do remember reading up on, when I was looking at this, that we're basically saying the same thing. You're indicating that it's different. I'd be more than willing to review my research to make sure that, I'm not misleading or misstating anything. I'd be willing to do that because you're bringing up something that, quite frankly, I didn't find. But I could be mistaken, and I understand that you also do your research. So if you want, I will look at this and either come back and say, no, Councilor McGivern is right, we can't do this because of federal law, or yes, we can, and I would say that you could move on the ordinances before you. So I just want to say, I'm willing to do that, but because I want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Anything else, Counselor McGivern, before I go on to Counselor
Well,
Anderson Burgos and then?
I guess if it's not coming out of committee, we're going to get some more research done on this. But my question, concern is, I voted in favor of a resolution based on, filed by Counselor Hernandez. This is an ordinance change that takes it a different step and a different message than, or partially different message than the resolution. And if this is a recognized federal holiday adopted by the Commonwealth, and I think almost all the states, I just want to know what we're doing, and maybe also, can we do it?
I do believe that as of October 11th of this year, Indigenous Peoples Day has now been adopted as a federal holiday. But I think we could have that confirmed, but I think we can still at the same time move forward on adopting a draft language and then approving that potentially at the next city council meeting. And if we are wrong, then I would say we don't have to move forward on the language. We do have in queue Counselor Anderson Burgos, Counselor Bacon, and then Counselor Hernandez.
So, I can't speak for the rest of the country, and I can't speak for municipalities outside of Holyoke, but I can speak for a lot of the residents within this community who have spoken very passionate about Indigenous Peoples Day and what it means to them, and what Columbus Day, what they thought meant to them and what it means to them today. And I believe that this language and this order is before us because we are responding to what a community is asking from us. And as elected officials, it is up to us to correct the wrong. And that's just strictly my opinion. And it's not meant to be pointed at anyone. It's just my observation. I'm a peacekeeper, if you know me at all, and I'm just trying to work with what the people of this community is looking for, and that's change. Thank you.
Counselor Bacon.
So here's my take on this whole thing. I think it's fine if we have a new holiday, Indigenous Peoples' Day. I don't think it's fine if we erase history and erase Columbus Day. Columbus Day was not made because Columbus was a saint or a martyr. It was in recognition of the exploration and the travels of the day. Now, in the current events that we live in, we are all talking about redemption and things that have happened in the past that are negative, and people who have paid their price should have the opportunity to participate in society because we believe in redemption. But for us to reach back into history and theoretically in the modern day find somebody guilty is, to me, all part of the cancel culture. So I'm all in favor of creating a holiday, Indigenous Peoples' Day. I don't have a problem with that. I just don't see why we have to cancel something else to make it happen. So that's my perspective on it. I'm not aware we made it a federal holiday, but maybe we did, and I just didn't see it. But I think it would be interesting to know. Thank you.
Counselor Hernandez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And please forgive me, I have a little cold, so my voice is. So yes, I mean, I just want to add that as Councilor Anderson Burgos said, we did hear our community speak up on the matter. For over a year now, we have been listening to the atrocities that, this holiday means to the original landowners, the original people of the land that we walk on. And this is not about canceling culture or about erasing anything, because there's nothing to erase. We're actually trying to amplify the atrocities that Christopher Columbus committed against the indigenous native people. We want that history to be distributed, to be spoken of. So the real history and what happened can be discussed. And as atrocious as it was, it has to be spoken of and to honor. And I know also and respect how Councilor McGivern says that when it was a resolution, a lot of councilors, of course, we had 10 councilors vote in favor of it when it was a resolution. But now this is a whole different, process here, because now it's like, it's an ordinance change, and we're trying to make it part of history, part of this local town, to say, yes, we not only passed a resolution that we're going to celebrate Indigenous Peoples' Day, and our community came together and had a beautiful manifestation on this day. But we also want to make it part of the ordinance, that it is in history, that it's not just a resolution, but something more significant. So that's what we're trying to do here. And to hear that we're still at the level that, we're thinking that we're canceling culture is a little bit disappointing. But regardless, I look forward to, we're going to have to table it and have attorney, or I don't know if we can move forward with the draft and then present it to City Council. But I look forward to simply, moving forward with this and see how can we come together and synchronize for once, in this honorable City Council, and look at the bigger picture of what this means for the future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers want to be recognized? Seeing none, I think the motion on the floor was that we adopt the language and put it before the full city council for the next meeting with an understanding that it is being recognized as a federal holiday. And if it's not, then we'll get the update from Attorney Degnan at that point. Attorney Degnan, under the suspension of the rules, you're recognized.
Thank you. Yes, and I believe that one of the changes that was requested is to put in the ordinance that formerly known as Columbus Day, which I am willing to do. And I could submit, after I double check my research, because quite frankly, I didn't remember the day that you had mentioned, Councilor Lisi, but you know, I can send the revised ordinance to council if you'd like me to do that. I can do that for the next council meeting.
Yes, please.
I think we need a vote of the committee before we draft an ordinance.
Yep, so we're going to take that vote now. So the motion on the table is to adopt the order and draft into legal forms to be presented at our next city council meeting. That motion was made by Councilor Hernandez and seconded by Juan Anderson Burgos. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
So I'm going to call that a 4-1 vote.
Council
not 4-1.
Murphy's not in the room.
Thank
He
you
is
for
not
that.
present for the vote.
I appreciate that. I did not know that. 4-0. Sorry, 3-1 vote.
Chair Lisi, can I make a request of personal privilege, if I might?
Sure.
I would appreciate it if, for our meetings, we could meet in the chambers. It is very awkward to be sitting in the chambers and not being able to be seen by you running the meeting. It is a little bit backwards feeling that we're here in the chambers and you can't see if we're here or not. So I would just hope that maybe you could be here in the future. Thank you for your consideration.
Sure, and I'll be perfectly transparent and public about it. But I have a small child under the age of 12 who cannot get vaccinated. And our members have not been the best about wearing masks in public, and I do not want to take the virus home with me. So I'm not joining. Thank you.
Well, the Board of Health has lifted the mask mandate, and so we hope that that would be given
It's not a lifted
consideration.
mandate in the schools because the young children do not have the vaccination and are not protected from the virus. Moving on in the agenda, we have items number 9, filed by Council Bartley. Is there a motion to take up item number 9
So
for
moved.
discussion?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So moved, and that is a handicap sign be placed in front of 122 Brown Ave for Norma Rivera. I do not see the package in the materials that were sent around with the recommendation from the Commission on Disabilities. So Jeffrey, do we have a recommendation from
Yes,
Commission on Disabilities?
they did sign off on it. The measurements were sent to, or Bob did provide the measurements, and they were sent to legal for filing the draft. As a side note, Councilor Bartley asked that while he was not able to be here tonight, he wanted to thank the committee for taking this up.
Thank you so much for relaying that message.
So I'll make the motion that we adopt the handicap sign based on the recommendation of the Disabilities Commission. And that hard copy and legal form hopefully will be available at our city council meeting.
Motion is made and seconded. Under discussion, I see Attorney Degnan raising her hand.
Yes, thank you, Counselor. This ordinance has been drafted, and it'll be before the City Council at the November 16th meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
So all in favor of adopting the order and legal form to be presented in front of the city council at our next meeting? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's a 4-0 vote. From my understanding, on items number 11, 12, and 13, related to the RC district, we still have not received a recommendation from the planning board. Is this correct, Jeffrey?
That is correct. The items were on the planning board's agenda for this evening, so I will follow up with them afterwards.
Okay. So then I believe motion is in order to take up the package and continue to, or we should actually open the public hearing for everything. And then continue to 2 weeks forward from here.
I'll make a
Attorney
motion
Bissonnette?
to open the public hearing for item 11, 12, and 13 and continue it to 2 weeks from tonight at 6:30, which would be, today is the
The
9th,
22nd, I believe.
23rd.
23rd
Thank you.
at 6:30.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to take up items 11, 12, and 13 as a package, open the public hearing, and continue to the 23rd. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And is there anyone in the chambers
Yeah.
or on the Zoom who wants to be recognized to speak on behalf of this item, since it is formally continued today and we are opening the public hearing? I don't see anyone in chambers. Jeffrey, is there anyone as a attendee who wants to be recognized?
There are no hands raised.
Counselor Lisi, I want to make a motion to take up item 10.
Oh, I didn't see that. Thank you. So let's just dispose of this. So we just need to vote to continue it to the 22nd at a time certain, which is 6:30 p.m.
23rd.
All in favor?
23rd.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Motion to continue this public hearing on these three items until the 23rd of November at 6:30 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved.
Sorry, I jumped
proceeding
ahead.
out
I just didn't want to miss it.
I did. I would have if it weren't for you. So thank you. Item number 10, I'll entertain a motion to take it up off the table.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This is filed by Councilor Murphy that a handicap sign be removed from the front of 580 South Summer Street, placard P03205-121, as the person has moved. Under discussion, Councilor Murphy.
Clearly, we just want to adopt it and remove the handicap parking on that spot, so
Is that a motion? I'll second it.
that's it is. It is.
The motion has been made and seconded. Under discussion, I see Attorney Degnan wants to be recognized here. Attorney Degnan.
Yes, thank you, Counselor. This ordinance has also been drafted and will be submitted to the City Council for its November 16th meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So on the motion then that we drafted into legal form and have it presented at our next meeting, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I'm calling that as a 5-0 vote.
Make a
So
motion to
moved.
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Good night, everybody.
So moved. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.